It's 4:10. Hello again. I've got some other exciting guests with me today. I'm joined with Catherine and Andrew, who are here, the writer and director, to tell us all of the Positivity Experiment. How are you guys today?
Oh, we're good.
We're very well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks so much for popping in. I'm so intrigued to hear more about this play and for you to share it with the listeners over here on Drive this afternoon. So let's start off. Can you introduce the play and your characters? Tell us a little bit about how it starts, how it came about. You show me.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick
Sure. So the play is called The Positivity Experiment, and it is essentially about friendship and connection and togetherness and finding hope and joy again when you feel like that necessarily isn't possible. Mm-hmm. And it follows two characters called Jazz and V, and they're two strangers who meet on a bridge on New Year's Eve. And Jazz is really struggling, and V, again, a complete stranger, talks her down and says, listen, give me a year to prove just how incredible, amazing, and completely undeniably beautiful life can be. And what follows is this gentle, uplifting tale of friendship and hope. And the two characters are complete polar opposites. Two people you wouldn't ordinarily expect to be friends. Jazz is quite sensitive and intense and has had to grow up quite quickly because of her past. And then we've got V, this witty, chaotic mystery who is in many ways quite funny and draws Jazz out of her shell.
Wow, wonderful. I think that's such an exciting concept and such a lovely idea, because I'm sure it's a message that many of us need to hear. And you touched upon that the play deals with quite serious issues like mental health. As you said, it starts quite seriously with some themes. So as I was going to introduce it, there will be some themes in this conversation regarding mental health. So just a little bit of a content warning for this conversation. So of course, if that doesn't align with you, then that is just a little warning going forward. But in terms of mental health, how do you approach these sort of themes with kind of authenticity and care? How do you go about it?
So you told me that. You wrote this with drawing from personal experience without going into a ton of detail about that. Mm-hmm. And I think when we talked about this initially, you described this as, Catherine, as the play that you needed to see.
Yeah.
So what we've tried to do with this is strike a balance between giving an honest portrayal of what it is like to struggle with mental health and providing a message that things can get better. I think that there are a couple of extremes with this. So I do feel that sometimes a story about mental health can feel a bit voyeuristic or a bit like a descent into darkness that isn't going to let up. Yeah. And I don't necessarily feel that is particularly helpful. But the other extreme is to go for something that's overly saccharine and trivializes mental health struggles and makes it seem like all you need is a few inspirational quotes and everything's fine. So what we've tried really hard to do with this production is something that threads that needle, that tells a story that is authentic and nuanced and that grapples with the realities of mental health struggles without preaching a panacea. And in the friendship of these two characters tells a story about hope and finding joy.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of describing it. I think you're so right. It can be really hard. The pendulum can sometimes swing too far one way and it never seems to find that like almost realistic portrayal. And I think it can be really difficult to do. So that sounds fascinating. It sounds like you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. So what does the play say in your view about the power of human connection? And I guess maybe its relationship to mental health and joy and all the other themes that you kind of cover.
Yeah.
Well, I think don't underestimate the significance of little points of connection. There is power in a hug, in dancing around the living room with someone, in sitting down with them and watching a crappy Netflix series, or in recruiting them to start a war with gnomes against your neighbour. The thing that I find most attractive about this story is the friendship between Jazz and V. They have this real chemistry. There is humour and joy there. I think sometimes the stories we see about relationships between people in media can be heavily biased towards like family or romance. And something like friendship, and maybe queer friendship in particular, is something that takes a bit of a backseat. So one of the most refreshing things for me has been to be able to get to tell a story which puts friendship front and centre.
I love that. I think that's so important. I think there can be too much emphasis on this kind of like, I think Disney's done a good job in the last few years of changing that narrative of not all about finding your one true love, and actually being about other, and there's more books being all about finding your friend, your platonic soulmate and stuff like that. And I think that it sounds like you've kind of encapsulated the power that can come from a friendship. I think people forget that they're just as vital, equally, perhaps more so. So I have to just highlight that. What do you mean by gnomes? I mean, rival gnomes specifically. What's that all about? I saw it came up on the blurb and I was like, I'm just going to check that's not a typo. But you then mentioned it then, so I was like, I've got to cover it. Who are the gnomes?
It's difficult to say anything without giving it away.
Okay.
It's something that we've kind of got to keep for the play. But yes, let's just say that it's possibly not a good idea to upset your neighbours. Okay.
Do you know what? That gives just the perfect amount that people are going to leave being curious and then wanting to come to the play. And
from a directorial standpoint, be careful doing a play with gnomes in it, because currently they have annexed my kitchen table.
They're taking over. Oh no. Right, we're going to check in very soon with a few more questions all about the Positivity Experiment. It sounds super exciting. We're going to check in with the traffic very soon, but after that we'll come back and chat with Catherine and Andrew again. We're back with Catherine and Andrew talking about their play, The Positivity Experiment. Now, we were talking a little bit about gnomes. If you've just joined in, you'll be like, what are you on about? But you've got to go check out the play to find out more. But I want to ask you, what's something surprising or unexpected that maybe you've discovered during rehearsals? Let's talk more about like the production process, shall we?
We were talking about this a little bit off air. This is my first time directing. I'm mainly an actor, but this is my first time directing. So there's been a lot of things to learn along the way. And having said that this is a play about finding connection, that's not necessarily my natural mode. I find it quite difficult to reach out to people a lot of the time. But that's something that you have to do as a director. And one of the things that has consistently surprised me in this process has just been the willingness for people to get on board with this. That when I've reached out to people, to the wonderful Andy Green, who's done some of our musical arrangements, to when I've reached out to people to make our trailer, to our wonderful tech team, Samantha, Phil and Alfie, who, when I've shared this vision with them, they've gone like, hell yeah, let's see if we can make this work. And I'm continually surprised by our actors who, they're both quite young, in their early 20s. They're relatively inexperienced, but they've really got on board with the process and they are going from strength to strength. And I think, in a way, the most surprising part of this experience for me as a first-time director is just that to be in this place of seeing the results of all this hard work and going, holy cow, we've got a show and it's actually pretty good and it's really beautiful and really affecting and we made this. And that's, I think for me, that's been the most surprising part of it. It's so powerful to see it all start to like unfold and actually be an idea to being like a tangible thing. If you can call a play tangible, you know what I mean. But yeah, actually seeing it in front of you and all your ideas coming to life, that's fascinating. What do you hope that people take away from the show then?
Because the play was written from personal experience and lived experience, I and as Andrew said, I wrote the play that basically I needed to see. And it's almost like a warm hug to myself, but also to lots of other people who I know have struggled, and people out there who are struggling. And we just like to give a message that we're not alone in this fight. And we're not alone in the fight against mental health conditions, and that there can still be things and people that in spite of the pain make life incredible and amazing and completely undeniably beautiful. We've been talking to Mind Manchester. And 50% of the ticket sales will be going to Mind Manchester, who offer amazing resources and training and listening services and mental health support sessions to support those who are struggling. So that's another thing that we've been doing.
Yeah. And I think the impetus of the play starts with someone reaching out and not being simply a bystander. And so I think the other thing is just reach out to people, check in with your friends and family. Don't be a bystander, because there is strength in connection.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. You're not only just putting on a play, but you are passing on along a message. And by working with Mind, you're showing that we're here to help tackle that problem. And like you just said then, Andrew, there's don't know if you've noticed those things that there's often Samaritan signs at train stations and stuff, but they've started saying about reaching out about if someone's struggling, it can be difficult to approach them, but just ask them the time. Ask them where the closest place to have a coffee is or whatever. And the simple ways that you can reach out that might not be, open and explicit as saying, are you okay? It's a matter of showing I'm here and just, and I think that's a really important message as well. So definitely. So, bit of a challenge now. If you had to sum up the play in 3 words, and you can't use incredible, amazing, or beautiful, what would they be?
Okay.
Because you'll be biased, of course.
Heartwarming.
Nice.
Life affirming.
Nice.
And real.
Love. Okay, perfect. Would yours be the same?
It's funny too.
I like that. I never know whether people are going to take them as 3 separate words or make it short. Amazing. So we've got to do the obvious. We've got to advertise how people can go see the show, where it is, when it is. Feel free to do your spiel.
So it's on at the Whitefield Garrick Theatre in Bury, and tickets are available at the greatermanchesterfringe.co.uk /events/the Positivity Experiment, and it's on from the 24th, 26th of July.
There's dashes in the Positivity Experiment there, so it's /events/the Positivity-Experiment.
Yeah, or you can type into Google Greater Manchester Fringe Positivity Experiment will also come up.
To be fair, I found it that way. Amazing. That's to make sure. So that's next week, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So make sure you definitely get to check that out. It sounds like it's not one to be missed, and it's sending an incredible message. So congratulations. I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and for advertising. You've got any final words? It's okay if not. Equally, anything you wanted to add?
You are loved and we are not alone in this fight.
Love that. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.